I'd like to tell you about a day last week that didn't go as planned, but had a surprise ending. Last week, I made a commitment to myself. I decided I was going to push myself a little bit more. I was going to be around people and join the real world again. And I really believed I was turning a corner. But by the end of that same day, I wanted to despair from everyone and stay that way. But one sentence from my husband changed everything. Welcome to Both Sides of Me. If you're new here, I share my personal experiences living with bipolar, not because I have all the answers, but because I know it can get lonely on the journey. Now, here's how it went. When I woke up that morning, I thought the biggest battle would be getting myself ready and out of the house. I had no idea the hardest part would be what happened after I did. Now, here's how the day went. I woke up, and I must say, it was really hard for me to get out of bed. And I thought about the day and thought about the things, how I could possibly avoid everything I had planned on doing. But I was tired of feeling this way. I was tired of isolating. And I just knew that if I just made the decision and acted on it, that it would be one big step towards healing and getting out of this and becoming who I really am. I don't know how to explain that, but I used to have lots of energy. I used to have motivation. I had ambition. And lately it has left me. So I got ready and I felt confident, and I really believed the day was going to go well. So here is how the day went once I left the house. I had a doctor appointment that I had been contemplating canceling for the second time. And I told myself over and over that I was going to go, that it would be my social interaction for the day because I challenged myself to one social interaction a day. And besides, if I just got it over with, I'd be good for a year. I also had two prescriptions to pick up. One was a new medication I was going to try for bipolar depression and anxiety, and I had placed a lot of hope on it. But of course, the insurance company had to approve it because there's no generic, but they did, and I got the letter a few weeks prior to this day, and the pharmacy had said the week before that they would fill it. So I was ready to get started on it. I had time before my appointment, so I went to the pharmacy first. They were just getting ready to go to lunch and said it would be filled after lunch. Now, this would be my first fail of the day. I was annoyed. They said it would be filled a week ago, but I knew it wouldn't be a big deal to go back after my appointment, which happened to be in the next building over. So I told myself that it wasn't that bad. I still had time, so I called the psychiatrist to see if I could get in earlier. I regretfully had canceled my past appointment, and I was really regretting it. And they had to schedule me for a month out. And I was hoping that I could get in earlier, and I couldn't. That was fail number 2 of the day. By that time, the anxiety was starting to build up in me again, and I didn't like how the day was going so far. My good intentions weren't going as expected. By the time I got into my doctor appointment, I was ready to go home. My mind had started spiraling, anxiety was building up, and I was tired because I hadn't slept more than a few hours in days. And I know this seems overkill or overreacting. And if I were in a stable position, it probably would be considered that. But when the doctor arrived into the room, I told her what had been going on for over a month. And she said she was surprised I even came in. And I told her I needed a support person to talk to. So first, she addressed the sleep issue. She said, let's prescribe something to get you sleeping. And then we would follow up with a video chat. And then she said, let's just reschedule that day's appointment. I walked out of there feeling hope again, and the anxiety was abating. So I went back to the pharmacy feeling good and back on track. This is where I derailed again. Now, I won't go into the whole scenario, but the bottom line was the prescriptions weren't ready. One had no refills left, and I didn't know that. And the insurance company was only going to cover a certain amount of the medication. And so the prescription had to be rewritten. Now, here's the thing. I had been calling the pharmacy and leaving messages for a week to check on these prescriptions. So I knew I was taking a chance on them not being ready, but I really had high hopes for that medication. After waiting for a while and having a lengthy conversation with the pharmacy tech, I was done. I was trying not to cry, and I almost failed at that. What they wanted me to do was call my insurance company, and I knew that I would be on hold for a very long time, and I just didn't have it in me to do that. And I had that letter saying the insurance company would cover that, but in the letter, it didn't explain how they would cover it or the amount or anything like that. So I was a little surprised. And I was actually surprised that they didn't tell me about this. And that was just aggravating. And so then they suggested calling my prescriber to rewrite the prescription so the insurance company would cover it. Now remember, I was just on the phone with the office for the psychiatrist. But here's the thing. My regular psychiatrist was on paternity leave, so I didn't even know if that prescription could be changed at the time. I was actually going to see someone who was filling in, and it was actually for a med check for this new medication that I was already supposed to have started. All I could say was it just needed to get out of there, and all I could say was I would try to call them, and I left. I immediately started crying in the car and all the way home. Now, looking back now, I can actually see something I completely missed while I was living it. I actually had succeeded. I got out of the house. I faced normal issues that people face, that I'd faced before, and survived. The day was actually a win, but I just couldn't see past my own emotions. So by the time I got home, disappearing felt easier than trying to explain how I felt. But when I saw my husband standing in the kitchen, the first thing I said was, I'm done. I am so done. He asked what happened, and I told him briefly, and he suggested to call the psychiatrist, but I just said, I'm done. I am so done. And I repeated it over and over. I am done. I said it was just too hard to live with all these difficult emotions. I just couldn't see any help. Everything felt so heavy. And I ended my rant with, I can't do this anymore. Well, he was quiet for a moment, and then something happened I wasn't expecting. He said just 3 words. Just 3 words. And surprisingly, they triggered something in me. I can't explain why, but those 3 small words stopped the spiraling. All he said was, yes, you can. But in those words, I heard compassion, support, and love. I heard the underlying message as, you can do this, and I'm going to be right by your side the whole time. Interesting, the first thought I had surprised me even more. It was of you, my viewers. I thought, how can I tell you there is hope when I didn't believe it myself? Kind of makes me a hypocrite. But at that moment, I did. I really did see and feel hope. I did. So here's what happened next. I calmly said, "You're right. I can do this, and I'm going to call the psychiatrist." So I ended up calling the psychiatrist. And the reason I'm telling you this part is because of what I learned when I called them. And this is a little side message, but I called them and I explained why I was calling. And they informed me that they had just gotten off the phone not 5 minutes earlier with the same pharmacy tech that I had spoken with at the pharmacy. I was stunned. I was instantly filled with this deep gratitude for the support of a stranger. It wasn't her job to call. She didn't have to do it. I said I would do it. It wasn't her job. But I'd like to think that she could see how upset I was and wanted to help. I'd like to think that she felt empathy and wanted to do something nice to help me out, to lighten my load. Here's what that day taught me. One bad day doesn't erase progress. Our minds can tell us things that aren't really true. They're not completely true. And small acts of kindness matter more than we realize. And sometimes hope returns quietly. If you've ever started that day, a day, any day, determined to keep moving forward, only to end it wondering why you even bothered, why you even tried, I want you to know what else I learned. Progress isn't measured by having perfect days. Sometimes progress is simply finding your way back after a difficult one. I'm still learning. I don't have all the answers. This was one learning moment. I'm still growing, and thankfully I'm still growing, and I'm starting to see the lessons I've learned and the growth I'm making. So if you are too, you're not alone. I want you to know that. And if you can relate, starting the day feeling hopeful only to have it completely unravel, I'd love to hear what helped you find your way back, if you're comfortable sharing. And if this helped you in any way and made you feel less alone or more like you can relate to something, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button for more stories and conversation on living with bipolar. And I want to thank you for watching and for your support. And though you don't know this, thank you for reminding me that there is hope. There is always hope. There is a way out, even if you can't see it. So again, thank you for watching.